All right, then the next one that we would like some input is on number 24. And again, it's sports. Reducing tennis courts from 8 to 6. What that equates to is they still have enough um, to play and to run classes, but they can't hold regional tournaments there. But we have other schools that can. How many, Brad? How many?
And the others have less than 8.
Copper Hills has it. Bingham has 7. Bingham has 7.
But that is a cost saving of 150,000, and that's for. I mean, we have that capability in our district. So do we really need it at every school?
What did
I
you
don't.
hear on the from the community on that?
I think you could use that same argument with the turf and artificial turfing. We have it at other schools.
But we'll still have tennis courts. We'll have 6 courts. And I can't remember, did this come up from one of the shareholders? Was it the students or? Seems like, yeah, that's what I thought. It was the students that said we could do with fewer. So we just, again, we're bringing it to you because it's one of those we're like, well.
I'm fine to go. Given what you've said, I feel comfortable with going to 6. What?
I'm comfortable with that.
I'd go 6.
And I think we also said that that area could then perhaps be used as additional parking. Was that correct? Do I remember right?
Well, parking or two more. Parking's always an issue.
Yeah, it says right here in the memos that study to use for additional parking.
We've also received recent information that Harriman City is requesting a road on the north side of the property of the new high school to provide access from the north, which could impact that.
Area.
Trying to push parking to expand it.
But we might need it for parking, is what you're saying. I'm okay. I'm getting head nods. Yes.
I'm okay with it. Yeah.
I'm getting head nods, Kayleen. Yes on the.
So go ahead and put a Y by that one. Are we good to put a Y on that one?
I'd say yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But I said yes in the original one, so.
Yep.
And this one we didn't. Scott, on the seed or sod, do you want input from the board? Seed or sod? Was that a yes from the stakeholders? It was accepted. Yeah, we haven't accepted. But then we just wrote, who grows the seed?
Yeah. There you go, Scott. You could just stay there for a minute. We've got our.
I think it would be healthy to have that conversation about the seed or the sod. One of the things is you can do. What was the savings on that?
200,000.
You know, it's always nice to have the sod down just so that it's play ready. The seed, of course, you keep people off it for a while. We did a combination of both at Harriman High School. Do you remember that? So it does come in. It just takes longer. So it's one of those things. If again, it was a recommended or a suggested cost reduction item. Mm-hmm.
Yes, John, go ahead. No, if you have a thought.
Curious, but would that delay some of the sports teams though, like the baseball, the soccer?
Well, I think what they did was baseball. Now this is the best of my recollection, but baseball, softball did sod. They put sod down on those, but some of the surrounding practice areas were seed. So I remember there was a combination of both out there. I just can't remember exactly which areas were seeded. So it could, and it depends on how quickly they phase in the, get the fields ready and prep for that. But it usually takes a season, doesn't it, Cliff, to get that established?
Takes a minimum of about 14 months.
Mm-hmm. So basically, you've got to have it planted, and seeded a year in advance of opening the school to have it play ready. whereas sod you need about 6 weeks.
On a high school construction schedule, it's doable if the contractor meets that. I mean, there's
Know
a
that.
deadline. That didn't happen on Harriman, and that was the big issue.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Well, I think if it's doable, I think we should do it.
Yeah, so just so I'm clear, so the plan for Harriman was to seed, but the contractor missed it, and so the emergency was to sod what needed to be used, and then,
so it was always a hybrid. It was always to seed the play fields as it was done, and we sodded the interior, so there's always a loop around the building, so up against the building, and then the softball and baseball infields were all sodded.
Yeah.
At this point, I just open it up. Do you have any other questions on the high school?
I just have one comment. I was fortunate enough to be a part of some of these discussions, and I just can't say how appreciative I am of MHTN and the level of thoroughness and workability, is that even a word, how helpful you all have been in this process. The individuals that they brought to the table, the discussion, I can't say enough of how thankful I am for this process and the time and effort that it's required.
And in addition, I know I asked some questions earlier to Kayleen, and she passed those on, and I appreciate the openness and transparency and how you've really tried to work with us and help us accomplish our goal. Appreciate that. Okay.
I do have one question. I know there was some concern with regards to that penthouse. So the remove the penthouse unit, that there was a fear that our
Staff?
custodians, our staff, wouldn't get up and maintain the facilities the way they needed to, if that, and so there was some discussion of having, of furthering that discussion. Did you come to a resolution?
We
with
did.
regards to that?
Brian, do you want to kind of discuss that, or Cliff, how we were going to resolve that issue?
Yeah, so currently at Harriman High, which we've left it in, we did not change it, there's an elevator that goes to the roof.
Mechanical penthouse.
And then from there you have access to all the mechanical penthouses. Something we are doing to reduce cost is each of those mechanical penthouses had an interior stair that came in from the classroom that had door and hardware all associated with it. We've removed that interior stair and the door and hardware, which gives a little bit more space that the mechanical equipment needs, and are keeping the penthouses because of extending the life of the equipment, and it's easier to maintain. The guys can get up there. Yeah, they're outside for a bit, but they can get inside and do maintenance, change out filters. So the
Again,
decision
credit
was
to our architects for figuring out how to,
So
you
there-
know, just step
so
up.
that 360,000 is still the savings,
Correct.
even with having the physical penthouse.
I'll have to
double
look
check.
at that one. So this itemized list is basically the brainstorm of all ideas, whether it's a cost neutral add or reduction, and mostly looking for reductions here. And I'll have to go back and talk with Glenn to see if he's got the most current ideas in his estimate. So the estimate sheet that kind of shows the bottom line from here
Cost
on out is
opinion
actually is where we're going to be working from here on out, to really track costs as they're evolving. So I just need to make sure that the most current thought is in there, and if not, adjust it accordingly.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the smaller sheet, the cost opinion sheet?
Did the board have a chance to see that the cost opinion sheet is, and understanding it's today's market, but we were able to work within the budget appropriated by the board or approved by the board as it currently sits today? And I think there was an email attached to it that right now the market, with the summer bubble, everything's really high right now, and we're hoping that by January, when this goes out to bid, things will kind of break off a little bit, you know, slow down. So there could be some slight inflation that would, but we were very pleased that we.
And that
a lot
was
of work.
that was the question that I came back to, Caitlin. I had a couple of questions in regard to that cost opinion sheet in terms of what happens if those the contingency, what the inflation, what happens if we come out on the good side of that, and so she found the information, and so that I understand, then that would come back to us as a savings.
Correct.
Or
And
Brian
so-
and Scott got me the information.
Or it was Brian. Yeah. Anyway, it was great, and I appreciate that. That's good to know. I just didn't want it to be that we're just putting it out there and we're going to spend it one way or the other. It's great to know that would be helpful. So appreciate that.
Is the bonding, is that a returnable bond, or is that on the what'd you call that sheet?
The cost opinion.
Cost opinion. Is that the cost to bond, or is that returnable at the end of the project?
I think it's
That-
cost to bond, isn't it?
It's not returnable.
Not returnable.
I think because what that is
It covers the contractor.
right.
They're called performance and payment bonds,
They-
and it
yeah.
gives
The
you insurance.
Exactly.
They-
The insurance usually requires bonds.
I just wanted to bring something up that was on the high school and on the middle school. It was number 48 through 51 on the high school. No sewing programs, modifications to tech space, no auto shop, no wood shop. And this was directed by the district CTE on
It
the
was-
list.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So when we were going through all possibilities, and that was one of the things, was the question was asked, what CTE programs do we currently have in our schools that could possibly be duplicated at the tech centers, at the JATC North and South? So the question was asked of Jason, can you just go back and look at those different areas and give us your opinion on those? And he came back, and some are being offered here, but it was the consensus of the stakeholders and advisor groups that they remain in the schools, those programs.
Thank you. That's really important to me, and as I'm
They were-
sure it
they were
is
not
to other
eliminated.
people.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
That was in an effort to be completely open-minded.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
No, you guys
So what-
have done a
we-
fantastic
We
job.
talked about everything from doorknobs to to roofs. Yeah, we.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I just know the other schools have taken that option in other districts to take some of these things out, and I just think that we need to keep those things in our schools for kids and their future. So
Agreed.
And Ms. Atwood, I would add that same question came up at our administrative conference with principals and assistant principals, and they said the rumor was out there that this was being taken out of the new building. So absolutely not. I mean, to put that on the record, I appreciate that so very much.
Okay.
I might say they're being improved. Not only are they not being taken out, but we've improved the spaces.
wonderful.
Yeah, what we're seeing from both of the firms that were chosen is that, and Cliff and I actually had this discussion before board meetings started, that what we're going to see when we see what we're really getting is going to be a really impressive school. That, yeah, we're saving money and we're doing things differently, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be superb. Subpar. It's going to be very, very nice. Very nice academic spaces for kids to learn, which is what I think we're
That's what we
in the
want.
business for.
Save money and improve.
So.
Very efficient.
And also to look out for all those other programs. So that brings us to the elementary, and once again, you might deem this athletic.
The middle school.
Middle. Yeah, not elementary. Middle. Sorry. If you look at your cost calculator, number 5, it says to remove the running track would save us $222,775,000. And here are a couple of points I'd like to make and then hear from you. One is, when this went out to the community was shown the floor plan with the track. This is our building that will be replacing West Jordan Middle. So they already saw the track there, and I didn't understand at the time, so I'm guessing they probably didn't, that might be one of the things that was cut. Also, I'd like you to consider this. When I grew up, I don't know what the air quality was because we didn't really measure it. And I do know that was when I was in high school, one of my peers looked out the window and said, and I went to East High, look over at West High, their air's all polluted. And the teacher's like, are you kidding me? You're just seeing that. Our air's polluted too. So I know there was some air pollution, but I don't ever remember being kept inside because of poor air quality days. I do know that we keep our students inside frequently for poor air quality days. So for me, this is a health issue for our students. We have this at Copper Mountain Middle. We have this at Sunset Ridge.
Correct.
Or at Harriman. So I think it is an expense that for me, who is very frugal, I think it's a health issue and something that I would like to invest in. But again, I'd like the full board to, and our committee felt the same.
Personally, I think, obviously I don't use the track much, but it to me, having it available at the school offers more opportunities for instruction for the students, even if it's you can spread your students out. One can be doing this instead of everybody being crammed on the basketball floor trying to dodge around or something. It gives more. I would wholeheartedly say keep it in.
What our principals have told us is they do use that space to hold additional classes. Now you do need to know, if you look closely at, you have number 5 and then you have number 6, which is basically attached. One of those rooms that the committee discussed, there's 2 rooms that they put up there, and they put up a dance room and they put up a fitness room. But at the middle school level, we do not feel that we need a fitness room for our middle schools. And so we're asking them not to include that. But what we have done, we have built dance portables in the schools that we're reconfiguring to get the offices up closer in our middle schools. We're now putting in dance, which makes sense. We have dance programs in the high school. We have students that take dance from the time they're 2 and 3, and we have good dance programs at most of our schools, and we have interest. So there is a little extra cost for that, but I'm sure that these good men and their firm will work very hard to use space creatively like they have, and to see what the best amount they can get that to.
So I'm not, help me understand the relationship between 5 and 6. Do we have to do
So
both?
if you're a member, you've been to Copper Mountain Middle or no?
I've been there, but not upstairs.
So to do the second story, maybe you guys should answer, but basically to do the second story, which gives you your track, then that gives you space. And so the space has been used for 2 additional rooms. One at the schools is a fitness room, and one is a dance room. It also, I think, requires, but maybe there's a way around that, to put in an elevator. So your cost is going to be more, but I'm going to defer to Brian because I don't have all the particulars.
So can we have the running track and not and remove all of second level, or do we have to do both?
So all of second level includes the running track, 2 sets of stairs going up to the second level, the elevator, and the 2 teaching spaces that Ms. Whitlock referred to. I will say I've seen one of those spaces in another district being used as a large health classroom. So that the students, oftentimes the PE teachers are health teachers as well, and so they'll go up there, do their heart monitor training and teaching and health sorts of things, and then contest it on the track and things like that. So they can be used in other ways than the programs mentioned. So the item number 6 is to get rid of it all. Item number 5 is only the track portion of the deal. And these items came up, a lot of the items we've been talking about with the district for many months, even even before we were selected, as we were invited to look at cost reduction savings for the facility committee long ago. And what if we don't have a track? Well, that's the number. And so that's the track only is a remnant of that. If you only built the track, then you wouldn't realize whatever the difference is between the 222 and the 896, because you would need to add the 2 stairs back and at least an elevator. So because that second level isn't connected to the second level anywhere else in the building, so you need those for egress and for accessibility. The way that it's designed now, the 2 teaching spaces are directly above the locker rooms. So it is in the grand scheme of things affordable bonus space. If that portion were removed, then the exterior wall would be moved over to the edge of the gym, and you'd have just a 1-story over the. That would be a move that you essentially in the future would be difficult to bring back.
Okay. So we need to. You're asking for our opinion about the track. Is that right? Okay. So what are your thoughts? What do you want to do as far as the track in the middle school?
I want the track.
I'm for it.
Okay.
Knowing what the community wants, I want the track.
Okay. I think we got the track.
We need to discuss number 2 as well. That was board to approve.
Oh, okay, why did I cross it off? Why is number 2 board to approve?
On the community complex.
It's the community complexity in GSF.
I have on mine that that it was accepted.
Okay.
The Mount Jordan. Yeah.
Board to approve.
Well, just in the notes it says board to approve, but I think we
Oh, yeah.
overruled that.
Well,
The
I
committee
think
decided
everybody- I
differently.
mean, it's the new Mount Jordan middle school design that I think everybody liked.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you want to just
Sure.
give a brief what it is?
So with the middle school, one of the budget for the middle school, I'm trying to think of the best way to talk about this picture, is tighter than the high school. And part of the reason is because when Copper Mountain was built, you bought it on sale. You bought low, and these days we're buying high. So even the 17% reduction is with the high school is doable because you bought it at a normal market, and we can really focus on getting those costs down. With the middle school, it's much more difficult. That's why we're talking about these drastic things like tracks and other things. So we're looking at how all of this list are I would say more a lot of it's low hanging fruit. Some of it are cosmetic things. Some of them hurt a little bit. But then when we start talking about tracks and learning spaces, and we start cutting into bone, and we're trying to figure out how can we get a similar amount of learning spaces and a spectacular learning environment without having to sacrifice somewhere else. And that's where the Mount Jordan learning community model came into play. So with the Copper Mountain model, maybe you can help us now. With the Copper Mountain model, you have basically 3 grade level communities. Each of them are 2 stories high. Each of them have 6 primary learning environments, and they're broken up. 1 science per level, 1 computer lab per level, and 4 typical classrooms. There's also a shared collaboration area. A very similar, in fact, your Copper Mountain model influenced the Mount Jordan design significantly, because they looked at that and said, we need something exactly like this here, only we want a window to the outside. So that's where the Copper Hill, I keep saying Copper Mountain, huh? The Copper Hills Copper Mountain.
Too many coppers.
The Copper Mountain model was kind of opened up a little bit so that there's a window into that learning community. Other things that we've learned since the Copper Mountain was done in terms of how those collaboration areas can support learning. One of the moves that we've talked about and discussed is taking the lockers out of the learning community and using each of those wall surfaces to support teaching, whether it be with monitors and screens or writable surfaces or tackable surfaces, that when the group of teachers are out there using that space, they have the support to do what they need to with the students and get the noise and clutter of the lockers out of the way and use every inch of it. So as we studied that, we found that we could save in the neighborhood of 12,000 square feet. If you look at the top, if you have that in front of you, the top right-hand corner says building GSF gross square footage, 187,000. Copper Mountain is about 200 even. And pretty much all of the most of the savings that we're realizing is in this shift with the learning communities. And we've toured the communities with Ms. Timpson, with Jen. I'm trying to. Oh yeah, principal and assistant principals from West Jordan also have all seen that learning community, and I think there's a general consensus that it's one that could very well work and then contribute to a significant, almost $600,000 cost savings because of the area, and the construction methodology is a little simpler, to be honest with you.
And Matt, I would just like to say, I don't feel like in any way, shape, or form are our kids getting less by doing this. I very much support this. I actually like it a lot better. A lot better. It feels more open, more inviting, and you get to use all the surfaces. So.
My nephew attends Mount Jordan and is thrilled, and my sister is thrilled with the area. So.
Good. Okay. Anything more then?
Not on the middle school.
Okay. Okay. So we're done.
So so what we need from the board tonight, I think, is an approval to go with these cost-saving measures so that our team can continue to work.
Well, let's go ahead and let's
That's really important so that we can
get a motion, and then it's clear.
Should we do them separate or together?
I think you can do them together.
Okay. I move that we give approval for staff and MHTN to move forward with the cost savings cuts that we have approved in both our middle school and our high school plan with MHTN.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I'd just like to go on record that that's over $6 million of cost reductions from both of those, and I believe that's on top of the standard that we set at being, and so I'm just very impressed and again very appreciative of all of the efforts that have gone into this.
Represents an enormous amount of time. Okay. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
So can I just clarify one thing?
Yes, please.
No contractor has been selected. No request for bids will go out until when?
Well, until when the bond passes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then, we'll have 90% drawings at that time. They'll continue their work, and then the idea is it would go out in January for the best possible bid climate.
So the bids will go out in January, and so the soonest we could possibly be digging dirt is when? March.
High school will go up first, and then
And so the high school's completion, if we stay on schedule, would be when?
2021.
The fall of 2020. And the West Jordan Middle would be?
A year ahead of that.
I have it.
It's a year ahead of that, yeah.
I think it was the year before, wasn't it?
It's the year before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we go to G, Madam President?
Yes,
before
let's go
they
to
leave?
G, please.
So I asked for this to be put on because another thing that we heard with this cost cutting was from several groups is lockers are not being utilized. And so why I wanted this on here is I was hopeful that maybe we could get some ideas, maybe, and if not this year, next year, because lockers are expensive, and if we don't need to put in a locker for every kid that building's built to house, we could save some money there, both at the middle school and the high school. So what I'm asking is that we ask our principals to experiment with that and maybe not give every kid a locker. And if it's possible this year, that's great. I know that's coming out soon, and I don't know with the new system how we get our lockers assigned because we don't walk our stuff in and get that anymore. So I think it comes online. So it may be too late for this year, but definitely for next year we would like to ask, the facilities committee would like to ask, because our shareholders have said maybe we don't need to put in so many lockers, what the reality is. Because if it is the reality, then we don't need to. But if it's not really, if it's just perceived and not reality, we don't want to make that mistake and not have them put in to begin with.
Could we also include input from students as to whether they intend to use or if they've ever used?
Well, I felt like if we came up with a system where they were asked, instead of just saying, here's your locker number,
Mm-hmm.
if we just simply asked, did you want a locker this year? Then we'd know pretty quickly.
Yeah.
If we get half of the kids saying, yeah, I don't even use the thing, then we'd have some good data.
That's kind of what I was meaning. Instead
Yeah.
of just asking the principals, asking the users.
Well, yeah, I want the principals to do it with the students, definitely.
Principal staff students. I think that's a great idea. Myself.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say one of my jobs at the end of every year was to do locker clean out, which is unlock all the lockers and take stuff out. And yes, I did find a trumpet in a locker. Mother was very upset. But I would say probably at least a fourth, maybe a third of the lockers had nothing in them. The kids had never used them.
And kids just weren't that thorough on cleaning them out, is what you're saying.
Those kids had cleaned them out really, really well.
I'm not going to tell you some of the other things we found. It was a very entertaining day.
Okay.
May I add something?
Yes.
Coming from our engagement with students and staff at the schools, these line items are on the cost calculator because of the students. So the idea first came from the students at Harriman, where we talked with, where they presented the idea of, we don't hardly ever use a locker. Now with the high school level, there's some age discrepancies. Meaning, if you don't have a car to keep your stuff in, then maybe you do want a locker. So I think the study would be very valuable. But when we talked to students at Harriman and staff first, and then also met with students and staff from Riverton. And the Riverton, the head custodian there said, yeah, when I'm doing the locker clean out at the end of the year, half the time I'm pulling out the welcome slip of paper that the student body officer slipped in every locker, because they weren't used. So there's a lot of that going on. So it'd be good to know the extent.
So you're asking for us to
give direction to staff.
Okay. So how do we feel? Are we good to give direction to staff? Let's go ahead and have that in motion too. I mean, it's just easier for staff to understand what we're saying if we have it specific.
Do teachers find any value in it either? I mean, do we need to include in getting feedback from our teachers as well? I mean, is there any?
Whatever feedback is, I don't know if
they have an opinion one way or the other on it.
Mostly the reason we did locker clean out is textbooks. We were pulling books out.
Pulling books.
Textbook recovery.
They need to recover the textbooks. Yeah. Go ahead.
Got a couple of teachers.
Yeah, do you want to say, do you have any opinions?
I'd like them to use half the lockers and the opportunity to use them just because their backpacks wouldn't be so huge and wouldn't be clogging the passageways in my classroom.
We do have that problem in our schools.
But having the locker and using the locker are two different things. Yeah. Be great to at least do the study though and see what they say. So go ahead and make a yes.
One thing that I have feedback on is if classes are all located away from the locker, then the students don't use it. So when we're assigning lockers, if somehow classroom location, and that may be at the point where somebody has some sort of automation for that process, or that's why when I hear students don't use it, it's because it's just too far away. They can't get to it between classes.
Well, that and what I heard earlier today from one of our students is she didn't use her locker because she didn't feel safe around the group of kids that congregated there. So apparently she used someone else's locker.
Interesting.
That's against the family rules.
That's what friends are.
I would like to make a motion that we direct staff to do a assessment with the students, in basically a study with the students on whether they want a locker or not. Staff can come up with how they want to do that, but what we want, the information, the data we want back is how many students really want a locker at our secondary levels.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion on that motion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. That passes. All right. Very good.